So DubDub is over and there's a lot of videos to watch. If you didn't have time to check them out yet, here are some of my picks with additional highlights. My name is Mike and let's get started. First of all, if you, like me, prefer to watch videos at 1.5 speed, I recommend you to try the developer app by Apple. It's available on the App Store. You can easily change the playback speed. There's no need to download videos anymore. You can just stream them at any speed you want. I assume that you have already watched the keynote, as it is a must-have to watch. The next stop is the Platform State of the Union. It's basically an overview of the most important changes across the Apple platforms. This year it was not that packed, but still a lot of interesting new features. Next one, if you are not following the Swift evolution, this one is a must-have. We now have support for package collections in Swift 5.5. It's a created list of packages that you can add using Swift Package Manager. New Xcode comes with the pre-installed Apple Swift packages. They have added 4 new packages this year: Algorithms, Atomics, Collections, and System. To be up to date with all of those new packages, you should follow the Swift blog on the swift.org. There are a couple of new improvements for Swift on server. We now have static linking on Linux, which improves startup time and simplifies the deployment. In Swift 5.5, the JSON encoding and decoding has been re-implemented from scratch. Also, the AWS Lambda library has been improved. Now we can use async await in Lambda runtime. Doc.C is Apple's new tool for building documentation right from a code. It converts Markdown-based text into rich documentation, and it will be open source later this year. Swift 5.5 introduces a long-awaited changes for the asynchronous and concurrent programming. We now have support for async await and actors. This session just briefly introduced the whole concept. To find out more, you should check Meet Async Await in Swift session. In this one, you can learn more details about async await. It starts with an example function, which later will be transformed to use async await. You will also learn that not just functions can be async, properties can be async too, as well as loops. Async loop is just like a normal loop, except that it gets its elements asynchronously. There's also an example with an explanation how a normal function is being called and asynchronous one. There are async alternatives to an existing APIs, which basically replaces completion handlers with async functions. Next stop, what's new in Foundation? This year I was a little surprised. Looks like there is not that many changes in Foundation. The Foundation team focused mostly on the internationalization and localization. There are a lot of new features for the attributed strings, new formatters which are faster and easier to use. There's a brand new feature called Automatic Grammar Agreement. It reduces the number of localized strings that you need inside your app. Unfortunately, right now it's only available for English and Spanish language. My favorite new feature is the Markdown support for the attributed strings. I don't know if all of the attributes are available, but it looks promising. Formatters now use the regular Swift functions, so you can take advantage of auto-completion and type safety. This approach has been applied to all of formatters in Foundation. Just look how easy and clean the new date formatter looks like. New feature Automatic Grammar Agreement can vastly reduce the complex of code by automatically fixing up localized strings so that they have correct grammar. Next stop, what's new in SwiftUI? SwiftUI has been released in 2019. This year we'll see a lot of new concurrency features like async images. There's a new task modifier which lets you attach an async task to the lifetime of your view. So the task will start when the view first loads and cancel itself when the view is removed. You can now add custom previews to the draggable views. This preview is shown instead of the view while it's being dragged. There are 2 new rendering modes for SF symbols. Hierarchical uses a current foreground style to color the symbol and add multiple levels of opacity to emphasize the key element of the symbol. Palette gives you more control over individual layers of symbol with custom fills. There's a new preview orientation modifier that allows you to change the orientation of the device in previews. I really like this one, a new API that allows restricting the range of type sizes to keep UI from getting too small or too big. Buttons. There are quite a lot of new features for buttons this year. New modifiers, style, better support for multiple platforms and accessibility. Last but not least, demystifying SwiftUI. In this one you will learn more about the declarative nature of SwiftUI, what exactly happens under the hood, how SwiftUI understands your app. It is packed with examples and explains key concepts, which is identity, lifetime, and dependencies. Of course, those were just a few interesting videos, there's a lot more to watch. Here are some of my additional picks. All of the links will be in the description. Keep in mind that those are the most interesting videos from my perspective. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.